Good morning and welcome to Sport for Business. It's the start of a very special week. It's the annual Special Olympics Ireland collection, which has taken a different form to the normal buckets that we would be out shaking, trying to get the coins in. This time it's gone digital, as it did last year, behind the Can't Stop Now banner and motif. And we're joined this morning by Aongus Hegarty, who's President of Dell Technologies, to talk about how corporate Ireland has been digging out such a special organisation as Special Olympics, and the CEO of the organisation, Matt English, to tell us a little bit about how the organisation has been over the past year. So you're both very welcome. Matt, if I can come to you first. It's been a year that we could never have imagined, one that we are still struggling with. What's the impact been like on the Special Olympics athletes and on the organisation?
Hi, Rob, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. It is a big week for us indeed, and it's been a big year for Special Olympics, as it has been for everyone. We've all had to pivot and change. It sort of began last March, where we were due to hold an Ireland Winter Games, which were qualifiers for World Winter Games. And at a week's notice, we had to cancel that event. So that was devastating for the athletes who were looking forward to that competition. Of course, we rescheduled it for December last year, and that was cancelled as well. But the big impact, of course, was the closure of 292 clubs, where athletes, of course, like to train and be fit, like all of us like to be involved with clubs. But for them, the social aspect is huge. People with intellectual disability do suffer from greater isolation and greater challenges than most of us. So I think for them, really not being able to hug, meet their friends, talk, was hugely impactful. And I suppose if we look at Special Olympics as an organisation, one of the things that did surprise us is how quickly we transitioned to remote working. And that has a lot to do with our technology partners. Great to have Aongus here as well, because Dell played a huge importance in that transition, as did the likes of Microsoft and our premier partner, Air. But listen, it is all about the athletes and the volunteers. And we're, nearly 14 months into this journey. There is light at the end of the tunnel. I have to applaud the Irish governments, North and South. People with intellectual disability have been prioritised for vaccinations, which is great news. But we have athletes from as young as 4 up to their 80s. I think an 82-year-old athlete. So depending on the club, whether you're indoor sport or outdoor sport, a lot of those clubs are supported by older volunteers, experienced volunteers, maybe parents of athletes, as well as qualified coaches, etc. But they also will be anxious about opening up the clubs and all the concerns. So we're on a journey. It's not going to flick a switch and turn everything on, but we would expect throughout the year, certain clubs, depending on the sport and the profile of the volunteers and the athletes, we will have phased openings. If I could just say one other thing which has been hugely impactful is what we've been able to do digitally. We've had so many different schemes. So Let's Run. We've had virtual competitions. We've had clubs that have done amazing things, just having bingo sessions, having coffees and chats. Volunteers, including volunteers from Dell, have done amazing work just to reach out and have that social interaction. We're running our second major virtual competitions, and close to 1,000 athletes have signed up for it. We had virtual award ceremonies for phase 1, and it was just wonderful to see the athletes. We posted out medals. There were a special edition COVID medal, but didn't have COVID mentioned on it. But it was a real thrill for the athletes and for the families, and a celebration in these darker days. But we're very hopeful, with all the great partnerships we have, that as soon as it's safe to do so, we will be reopening the clubs.
I've been to games, I've been to homecomings, I've seen the emotional impact that it has, and it is a very physical thing. But the collection has always been physical as well, in that we've shaken buckets, we've asked for the money. This week is about translating that into a digital format as well, isn't it? So tell us a little bit about what the process was in switching something that had a real integrated part in the way that society works. We knew the day was going to come, and we knew that the collectors were going to be out there. And then last year it didn't happen. So how important is it that we get it right again in a digital format over the next 5 days?
I think this is going to continue to be a transition, and it will take time. And I think, even cash, we've moved a lot towards a cashless society. So this is something that not just Special Olympics, but all charities are going to have to reinvent. Again, with the support we've got from many of our partners, the likes of Revolut, Air, Dell as well. They've put a team together, a tiger team, I think we called it, to help us to digitize. I must acknowledge, though, too, and I think it's really important that we do that, to acknowledge the government and Sport Ireland for the resilience funding that they have given, because without that, many sports NGBs and charities would have struggled. And we will not raise the 500,000 or the 600,000 that we normally raise. It may take us 5 years to get the digital and for people to change, because people are generous. When they see someone they know in their community, they will give cash, and it's easier to not give digitally. And there's so much noise and asking in the marketplace. So what's critical for us really is that corporations do something digitally themselves. So it's, for example, we have 98FF Brian Maher doing a 24-hour run-a-thon, and he'll raise 24,000. Dell, for example, are going to run a quiz on the 28th of May, and they will raise money internally. So it's really digitally engaging with partners and them doing things. Yes, of course, we will do everything we can with publicity, and the Can't Stop Now campaign, I think, is really relevant. That started out as a fundraising initiative, but it resonates now much more for our athletes who can't stop now training, can't stop being healthy, can't stop meeting each other. It resonates hugely for our volunteers, because we need volunteers have got out of the habit. It'll be a year and 2 months for some of them already that they haven't been involved. Many have stayed involved. But again, it's can't stop now. To all our stakeholders, we need your support, and we'll appeal to that. But we do know that people respect Special Olympics, they respect our athletes, and they will dig deep and do all they can to help us.
It is a question of standing up and doing what we can do to support, and not just thinking that we can do it. Aongus Hegarty, President of Dell Technologies, you're very welcome to Sport for Business as well for the first time.
Thank you.
You've done just that. Matt has said great things about the way that you've engaged in terms of building a team, in terms of helping with the move towards digital, and all sorts of fundraisers as well. What was the trigger that got you involved with Special Olympics Ireland?
Well, our team and across Ireland in 3 locations, we've over 6,000 team members, have been actively involved in Special Olympics for a couple of decades. When the national games were held in Limerick twice some time back, I know our teams there were extremely involved. Our teams in Cork have always been hugely involved with the clubs in Cork. And based here in Dublin, I've had the opportunity with Matt to be at the national games we last held in Dublin, and also to attend the World Games in Abu Dhabi a couple of years ago. And I think anyone of our team who've ever been involved, whether it's volunteering, whether it's been, as you said, welcoming the athletes home or attending some of their events or being part of the club or volunteering, the passion and energy you see from the athletes, their commitment to their sport is wonderful. And it's wonderful to see them. And we all look forward to, as Matt talked about, beginning the clubs, beginning to train now outside a little more. It'd be great to see the athletes back. But technology has been a huge enabler, as Matt spoke about, both in the fundraising, but also in keeping the athletes active, keeping them connected with the fitness classes, and making sure they continue to practice their sport. And that's similar. Technology through this pandemic has allowed us to work from home, allowed us to study from home, allowed us to fundraise remotely, allowed us to exercise in sport. I use a Zoom class myself for the gym work. So it's a fantastic way to enable it. And as Matt talked about, we really need everyone's support now to just think a little differently. There won't be someone in the corner of the street shaking the box this year, but there's so many ways, whether using Revolut or going into can'tstopnow.ie or texting sport to 50-300 and donating. There's many ways in which we can do this now digitally and electronically. And our volunteers will be very involved in fundraising and lots of events. Matt mentioned we're doing a quiz. We've had lots of different competitions going on throughout last year, and we'll be very busy supporting and fundraising this week coming up as well.
We were able to push those means of donation up on the screen, and we'll put them up again at the end of today's show. From a corporate point of view, getting involved in something like this, which really means something to people, how important is that for your teams, your culture within the organization, that you can ask people to give of their time and their experience and their expertise? How important is it for them in making them feel as though Dell is just is a company that they want to keep working for?
Yeah, I mean, Rob, for us, it's so important that you have deep roots in the community, whether that's here in Dublin or across Ireland or around the world. We want to be connected into the community. Our team members want to give back, and so we've identified, a range of areas and opportunities, and everyone has got passions about different areas and different activities, and the opportunity to give of your time, to give of your skills, and the satisfaction and how you feel when you do that, and the thanks, of course, you get from the groups that you can get involved in. So it's wonderful. It puts deep roots in our community. It gives back into the community. Because we're a technology company, clearly we can use the skills and our technology to help many groups and charities and sporting organizations like the Special Olympics. So it's a great way to build collaboration in our teams, and as I said, to have strong connections into the places in which we live and work.
And you've been able to do physical elements in that as well, pre-pandemic as well. I remember the basketball skills initiative that you had as well. So it's, we're getting back to a point now, hopefully, where things will become more open. Is that something that you envisage as being part of the re-engagement with your teams as well?
Absolutely. I mean, we're virtually getting connected. We're staying connected through activities like this with the Special Olympics, the fundraisers, the quizzes. But of course, we look forward to the opportunity to get back out on the sideline, shouting and supporting our athletes. Our volunteers are looking forward, and some are already getting back into their local clubs and supporting the athletes at a club level. But it is a changing world in which we're working in, Rob, and technology will play an important part. And, as Matt grows that digital capability to fundraise and using the technology for that, we're going to live and work and play sport in a different way and support in a different way. But this week coming up, we are remote and it will be virtual, and I really encourage everybody who has a passion and support for the Special Olympics and the athletes to use the many means to contribute financially in this important week for fundraising. And of course, there'll be lots of opportunities as we get a chance to get back connecting with the athletes to do things more face to face, as you say.
That is the key message: is to do something now as an individual, and if you can as a corporate, even better still. Matt, in terms of the number of athletes that you have involved in those 292 clubs around the country, what's the scale at the moment of what Special Olympics is?
Well, of course, with clubs closed, and I think this is going to be a challenge for all sports organizations, is retention of athletes and retention of volunteers. Because, as you know, I think it's said it takes 13 weeks to form a habit, but it doesn't take that long. And we're 14 months without it. So we'll be doing everything we can to encourage the 7,394 athletes that were previously registered with us to come back. And not all will. Not all are with us still, okay? And so it will be sobering when we come back, but we will put every effort in. We had just launched a young athletes program about a year before, and that was thriving. And continue to try virtually with some of the volunteers, hosting events where the mammies or daddies had their 3 or 4 year olds joining Zoom calls and doing dances and everything else. But I think, and also for volunteers, so that will be a really, really important area. It is a big scale, 292 clubs, which includes some special schools and special services, which have been hampered as well by by the pandemic. So I would say it would be a phased return, again, depending on what sports they do. But we're really excited, and we will also look to reach out to new athletes as well, because I do hope that everyone will be bursting with the excitement of the opportunity to get back to activities, to get back to social interaction as well.
We do. We need to get people back into the halls, out onto the pitches. There will, unfortunately, as you say, be empty chairs when they do come back together. But we have to make sure, and what we can do this week is to raise enough funds so that the chairs are at least there anyway. It's going to be really important. It's going to be a very important week. We're just going to play out now with some of the material from the Can't Stop Now campaign, which is powerful and emotional. But for the time being, anyway, ahead of a very busy week and a very important week, our thanks go to Aongus Hegarty, President of Dell Technologies, and Matt English, CEO of Special Olympics Ireland. We can't stop now.